All right, the next one for me, and then I'll turn it over to you guys, is choosing exercise modalities that just bang the crap out of your joints. Where you see a lot of plyometric work or high intensity power and speed work out of the gate, like right away.
Yes.
I find that to be challenging. The one that everybody's probably very familiar with, is the CrossFit stuff. In general, we start to see a lot of power and explosiveness being pulled into those workouts usually pretty early on, right away, actually, depending on how those things look or how those programs are designed. And I want to say there's a bit of danger in that for the over 40 who's either trying to enter back in or is just now doing it for the first time.
I would say that the other thing that I see as far as for women, it's usually the boot camp style workouts or it's the high intensity interval training.
Yes, for sure.
You know, they're trying to get back into it. They know they need to, but that's the wrong exercise modality when you've been out of it for however long or if you're just getting into it. One, we talk about this all the time. You and then Jeff used to talk about this, tissue quality.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And making sure that your tissue is ready to be able to absorb, but then also produce force.
Yes.
Yep.
And this comes from an active level, but this also comes like a reactive deep within these systems like tendon quality, like joint health, things like this. These come from an aspect of us that it's not something you can just try really hard to have. Your body has to develop that capability and that ability.
Good point.
Yeah, and so it's these things that you have to train it. Even who's someone who was maybe an athlete, yes, 15, 20, 30 years ago, they may have more of an ability to develop that quickly, but they still have to have a point where they're developing their tissue quality and their nervous system's reactionary response to the stimulus of a plyometric. So if you go day one and you haven't jumped in, I don't know,
however
30
long.
years, and then you're doing box jumps where you're jumping up and jumping down and jumping up and jumping down, your Achilles tendon is going to love that.
Or whatever. Your knees, your shoulders, your back.
But even, athletes, college athletes or even professional athletes, when their strength and conditioning coach is programming, they're doing contacts. They're counting the contact that the person is making when they're jumping and absorbing forces.
And they're even
managed. That volume is managed.
Yes.
I mean, to not dive into that, but they're getting even so nuanced of what's their weight, what's the total tonnage of ground contacts of what's their weight with they're
using power plates and all kinds of devices.
Exactly. So if you go to a class, something like that, where it's high impact off the get-go, and you haven't developed that preparatory phase of getting your body ready to accept these high impact things. Impact is good, and it's actually funny because one of my points I want to bring up later is the benefits that you need to do some power training. But the point here is a lot of people are doing it too soon. And they're doing it without their body being ready for it. Right. That's super, super common.
Yeah, this includes running, for a person. It's and we talked about this, I was talking about a client who had called me up and, her back was all jacked up because she decided to go out and run a 5K one day with a pre-existing back issue and whatever. The point of that is that is a high impact activity. Now, as you condition yourself and your body becomes a little bit more used to it, maybe lose a little body fat or weight or whatever else, you become a more efficient runner. It's not as significant, but that is a high impact thing. And I know that's what people want to do. It's what you think you should be doing. I mean, that's what our body is built to do. Quite frankly, it's built to run, right? Run and walk. So, but choosing that right out of the gate, I think is a big mistake, or any of those things like the plyometric, box jumping, sprint work. It's too soon. You have to build a base for this. Yep. And again, a huge mistake I see people making because what ends up happening is, again, you are not the same dude. Right. So you are not as resilient. That tissue quality has changed. You do not have the range of motion. You do not have sort of length tension relationships that are going to be great for this right now. We can train this, right? But it's to do it in a explosive, to be doing that kind of a skill in an explosive environment right out of the gate doesn't make a lot of sense.
That, or also, you were talking about our bodies are made to walk and run, but at the same time, modern day technologies have really limited our choices as far as to walk or to run. And so, our bodies and our lifestyles have changed over time, or we've made those choices. And so if you were to all of a sudden go and run, you're not ready.
Right. Yeah,
you know?
and it's problematic because you could start developing some poor movement patterns, some soft tissue issues, joint integrity issues, but also like irritated joints. Again, like nobody likes having a bum shoulder or an annoying knee or whatever else because of the obvious reasons. But then you start trying to find workarounds to it. And I found that to be really interesting rather than like, I have a problem, let's address it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I have a problem, I don't want to address it.
Yes.
Like, let's just give me something else to do.
Yeah, I just want
let's ignore it, it'll go away. Yeah. So yeah, high impact routines, high intensity routines from a plyometric or power specific programming perspective, I think is something that, again, I see a lot of people jump into those things and they're sorry for it. It's not you can't do it. Let's be smart about
lay the foundation
for it.
Smart about
approach.